What is talent for an actor? What is talent? Sanford Meisner, we used to beg him to answer that all the time in hopes to God that we had what he said it was. And he used to say quite often when the subject would come up, he goes, I don't want to talk about talent. But over our time together, he couldn't help himself. And so I wanted to share with you because it's important stuff. It's a legacy, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, that what one of the world of acting's greatest influences felt that talent was. Now, not it, that's something else. Talent. So one day he walked into class and things ended a little early and the question came up again and he goes, as you know, I don't usually talk about this, but I'm feeling rather generous today. And he said it with a twinkle, he wasn't being bratty. And he says, talent for an actor is made up of three things and in this order. And again, we all sat up. That's 38 years ago. At least right now, this is 2025, whenever you're seeing it, do the math. But that's a long ass time ago, and I can remember it vividly to this day. Because for all the reasons I said, praying to God, I had something of that, right? So here he goes. Talent. He goes, and in this order. First of all, a talent. He said, I'm going on the assumption that you've invested in world-class training to bring that talent forth. So there's natural ability and then there's talent for a trained actor. And that's what he was referring to. Okay. So talent, first and foremost, a childlike imagination. Number two, freakish concentration. Number three, a highly sensitive human being. And we're all like, we wrote it all down. And then he went on to explain. He goes, look, a childlike imagination, a highly developed imagination. Why? Because none of this is real. It's all make-believe. Hamlet ain't real. You're not really my wife, brother, having an affair, dying, whatever the stakes are, whatever the acting hurdle is, whatever the moment is, it's not real. It's all make-believe. So like a child who commits to their imagination, who can play. He once said, with a developed imagination, there's just about no place you can't go. And there's that. And of course, his iconic definition for the craft of acting, his standard that he dedicated his life to, and that is that acting is the ability, truthful acting, good acting is the ability to behave truthfully under these imaginary circumstances, to react truthfully, to respond truthfully under this imaginary situation. Again, that requires craft. And so, but I'll get back to it because there's a whole line through here of a point I want to make for you, okay? So a highly developed imagination. Number two, freakish concentration. The ability to be present is a cornerstone of the Meisner technique. It's one of the many reasons why the brick-by-brick, step-by-step process, it was created by Sandy over a 65-year teaching career to expand and grow our imaginations and our concentration. Because when you have freakish concentration, and he actually used that word, and he compared it to world-class, he said elite, anyone who's elite at what they do has world-class concentration. But I always likened it to athletes. I played a lot of sports, was around a lot of world-class athletes. And it's the truth, to be able to block out all the distractions of the fans screaming at you. And that's why I always thought tennis players and golfers were wussies, because everyone has to be so quiet when they hit, right? Right? Whereas in football, basketball, baseball, we were screaming, 70,000 people screaming, you suck, or whatever. And you got to block that out. Oh my God. Well, as actors, we don't have 70,000 people screaming at us, but what we do have is an audience, if it's live theater, and you can feel them. You can feel the energy of that. If somebody coughs or snickers or you just whatever it might be, sneezes, or the cell phone goes off. Oh yeah. So the ability to take a punch and snap back, that type of concentration, of course, working in front of a camera with the crew and the cast and people in your eye line, or just the distractions, but that camera right in your face. You ever notice that when it's, the coverage of the other actor, how free you feel, but as soon as the camera comes snapping around, all of a sudden you don't feel as free. You're not as focused, as present, because you're distracted. So that's one of the key tips of film acting, by the way, is make peace with that camera, and then it just dissolves away. Don't try and push it away. Make friends with it. Great tip. But back to it. Freakish concentration, the ability to be present. I've often said, having done so much of my career doing theater, man, when you're solid on that beam, on that balance beam, like a gymnast, when you're solid on that beam, you can take a 2x4 to your base, to your head, and it doesn't wobble you. And when you're not solid, the slightest distraction throws you. So back to it. When you have freakish concentration, you are right there. And so any little distraction is like a flea bite. It just goes away when you're in it, man. And of course, the more you're in it, what are you in? You're in this imaginary circumstance, this imaginary world, who you are to me, all the things that I've earned about you are at play. Again, like a child playing in their room, pretending that their pillow is a spaceship or whatever, or their stuffed animal is a monster or whatever. And then finally, highly sensitive, a highly sensitive human being. God, is this important? And again, doesn't mean don't about tears and bawling. It just means we know people in our lives who are incredibly closed off. They have had a lot of trauma, wounds, a heartache. Take your pick. But man, you describe them as cold, cut off. Well, unless you're going to play that role for the rest of your career, and that's because that's how you are, that's it. You don't have much range. This is all you can do is one note. The more wide open your instrument is, emotionally speaking, the more emotional range you have, the more diversity of roles that you can play. So highly sensitive, because again, it ain't real. Sandy used to always say in the work, take things personally, take it personally. So when they say something to you in a script, because we've done the work, we have the craft of world-class training in place. I know how to turn a cold piece of paper into a believable human being. Now can I sustain it? Can I sustain it past 2 seconds, 5 seconds, but the entire 2-minute take, or 2 hours of standing on stage by yourself doing a one-person show? Can you be that present? Can you be that focused and concentrated? And the answer is yes, but man, it's world-class craft and talent coming together, growing. So that when I earn from in the relationship that this is who you are to me, you're my ex, and you cheated on me, and in the script you say something like, you need to grow up, and I'm like, what the writer wants, what the director wants is this big reaction of, you got to be kidding me. How dare you tell me to grow up? You're the most, narcissistic, selfish person I've ever met in my life. There's my text, right? What's going to make it believable? Not me pounding on the desk, not me spitting out words, the life, the fullness of doing, the life that comes out of me. Where's that come from? Craft, but being sensitive, being open. Sandy once said, I love this teaching, he said, if a dog gets loose and tears up a green bean garden, that's one thing to a green bean gardener, and that's quite another thing to an actor. I love that teaching. And again, I know I've shared this before in other videos, but here it is. Vincent van Gogh has a beautiful quote. I'm an artist. To me, that means I'm here to live life loud, open, full. If you don't care, we won't care. Sandy, again, when he was teaching this point, would say things like, if the actor got up there and said, to be or not to be or not to be, you'd be like, I don't give a shit if you kill yourself or not. And so a childlike imagination, freakish concentration, and a highly sensitive human being. Sanford Meisner believed these were the cornerstones of talent. So guess what? He created, his whole technique is designed to advance those qualities and characteristics, to stretch your imaginations, to develop and increase your concentration, and challenge you through the training to deal with your stuff, your blocks, your closed heart, all your shit that gets in the way of being wide open, of being sensitive, to deal with your stuff. To be a world-class actor, you have to have a world-class instrument to play, and you are that instrument, Sandy would say. So the ability to put those all together and then have the craft behind it to be able to break down a character, earn a character, all the stuff that really happens big time more in second year. Well, that's not true. It happens in first year too of the formal training. But anyway, I don't want to get off track. Sanford Meisner, his definition of talent. are those three components. And he also stressed this about when he talked about highly sensitive. He said, and he goes, and I'm not just talking about sensitive when you're working as an actor, but sensitive in life, not neurotic, not overly sensitive to the point that you just can't, you get, you know, paralyzed by just everything. And you've heard of plenty of actors who aren't able to you know, when a take's done, be able to snap out of it. It should never be like that, ever, 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 ever. You can be sensitive, but you can be healthy about it too. It's all make-believe. It's okay. So, but Sandy said one time in class, he said, many a mother has lost a child. It's up to you to somehow turn that into high art. So you don't need a horrible life to be an actor, but you do need to be sensitive to all the shades and possibilities of this human experience if you want to have this type of range as an actor, take on these kind of roles. So there was one other point I was going to make about this. Oh, what was it? Shoot. I can't get it. I don't want to just sit here and stall. So I'll share it with the next one, okay? But it has to do with this topic. I know it does. And it has to do with sensitivity. Shit. Well, anyway, I hope that helps. It's always helped me. And one more time, let me put a bow on this, at least with this part, which is, so whether you're studying the Meisner Technique, you're thinking about studying the Meisner Technique, you're a teacher of the Meisner Technique, understand that this is what Sandy believed talent was. I just remembered it, by the way. This is what Sandy believed talent was. And so that's what the technique's all about. Every activity you've ever done, you're stretching your imagination, your concentration, and your sensitivity to who you are and what's happening here. Everything about the technique is designed to grow those pillars that he believed were the cornerstones of real talent for an actor that could turn you into somebody who was believable consistently in your work. So hope that helps. The point I wanted to, the final thing I was going to say, I'll share it now, and that was this. Sandy one time said, he goes, I'm talking now about talent. I'm talking about the depths of your humanity. How deep do you go? A musician will play a piece of music, every note's perfect right to the top, and then a talent plays the exact same piece of music, and it sounds like thunder. He said, where's the thunder come from? The music sheet? Of course not. So it really is dealing with the sensitivity. Yeah. Okay, I hope this helps. I actually have one other story. If you're still hanging in here, here's a good one. One time I used to live in Sun Valley, Idaho. It's a very affluent community. It's full of whatever. A lot of famous people and artists and stuff, but a tremendous amount of wealth too. It's just a melting pot of a lot of creatives and stuff. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is that one time I gave a talk on Sandy. I basically did a staged reading of my one-man show. And this was in the early stages as I was developing. I just wanted to see what I had. And somebody showed up who was, I was told, like one of the greatest violinists in the world. It was a woman. She was in her late 30s. And I'd heard of her. I'd been told about her. You can't help but live in that small town and hear about these famous people. Anyway, they said she's here. And I'm like, oh, well, great. That's wonderful. And I gave the talk. And it went over well, and that Sandy's genius resonated with people. People came up, and a lot of people sitting around afterwards wanting to talk and ask questions and this. And she stayed, till the very end. And she walks over to me and introduces herself and says, I'm a violinist. And I said, yes, I know who you are. And she goes, I want to thank you for something. I was very gifted as a child when I took up the violin. And I was taught and trained by some of the great master teachers in the world, my entire education, honestly. And she goes, and it's honestly not till tonight that something that I'd never really put together was put together. And I said, what? She goes, you see, I'm a technical master at this point. I really am. I'm technically very gifted at the playing of the violin. My problem is I don't have the heart and soul infused into it as to the degree that I'm hearing your teacher talk about. When he talked about when a dog gets loose and tears up a string bean garden, that's one thing to a string bean gardener, that's another thing to an actor. That actors, your job is to live life loud, to be wide open, and then when I shared again the part about a musician plays a piece of music, every note's perfect right to the top, and then a talent plays it. She said that just was like the greatest teaching I've ever received, honestly. And I want to thank you. So anyway, there's some war stories along the way. I hope that helps you, and I look forward to the next one for you, okay? Keep, subscribe, do all the things they tell you to do. Please do, share it. And then most of all, comments and questions. It's the feeding ground. I've got back into posting more consistently, and we've got a new wave coming of ideas for you and content that I hope will benefit you. So stay engaged. We're grateful beyond words, okay? Thank you.